The controls on the base unit are organized in a logical fashion and enclosed by colored outlines. Here are the controls for trace recording, trace measurements, trace selection, trace display, and the volume that is often important when recording traces. At the top, we have function keys that will be used to analyze traces during the procedure. And here we have a group of controls that will help us navigate through different test procedures performed. Right now, the study menu is displayed. Upper limb, followed by carpal tunnel, ulnar neuropathy, and lower limb. I would like to do a carpal tunnel study. So I can move to that study by using the Select Test button, which has got a red circle in it. Carpal tunnel is selected. And if I push it again, I will select ulnar neuropathy, lower limb, back to upper limb, like this. So this is useful to select a test or a study. I can select a specific procedure by using the trace down key. Or I can also use the trace up key. If you like, you can also use the wheel over here. The mouse can also be used. In this case, I'm going to perform a sensory nerve conduction study. However, the left side is selected. Looking at the patient's symptoms, the individual has problems on the right side. I can switch the side using the right-left key. Notice my test menu indicates right side for testing. If I push it again, it will be the left side and the right side and so forth. Having made the selection, I'm going to push this dial to accept it. Let us record the response by stimulating at wrist and recording from the index finger. The intensity can be adjusted using the intensity dial. Notice the intensity value in the status panel and also on the toolbar. To deliver a single stimulus, push the button with a single pulse picture. Notice the response. You can increase the intensity and stimulate again. For recurrent stimulation, push the key with 2 pulses on its picture. During stimulation, you can see the LED flash indicating that the stimulator is on. You can stop stimulation by pushing any of these keys. Sometimes you may want to erase a trace. This is done by pushing the key with symbol X. If this was done accidentally, use a right click in the trace area and select Unerase. In this case, I want to average the responses, so I would like to start with a clean trace. I'm going to push X to erase it. I will push the X bar key, this is the averager, to turn it on. The averager status is also indicated in the status panel. I'm going to use recurrent stimulation. Note the number of traces averaged to the right of the trace. The waveform is marked automatically. Marker 1, shown in red, indicates the onset. Marker 2 is at the negative peak. Marker 3 is at the positive peak. These are used for making measurements and displaying results such as onset latency, negative peak amplitude, etc. The marker positions can be adjusted using the marker dial. This dial can also be used in other programs to change cursor locations or trigger levels. Rotate the dial and note the change in the position of the marker. The result table is updated automatically. To select marker number 2, push the dial. Notice marker 2 appears in red color. Push it to select marker 3, make the necessary adjustments, and so on. To stimulate or to record from another site, use the trace down key. Another trace is displayed on the screen. Note the stimulation and recording sites in the result table. To go back to an earlier recorded trace, use the trace up key. The trace display is controlled using the 4 arrow keys: down, up, right, and left. The symbol at the center indicates the current state of the trace, and the symbols on the buttons indicate the change that will occur by pushing that button. So for example, if I were to push the down arrow key, notice that the trace became taller. Our gain right now is 20 microvolts per division. If I push this key, the gain setting, the numerical value, will be reduced to 10 microvolts and the trace appears taller. And now 5 microvolts per division. Pushing the up arrow key will have the opposite effect. 10 microvolts, 20 microvolts. Our sweep setting is 1 millisecond per division. Using the right arrow will expand the trace. So now it is at 500 microseconds per division. Pushing the left key will compress the trace. 1 millisecond per division, 1.5, 2, coming back to the original setting. Listening to the sound is an important part of the electrodiagnostic examination. It may not be critical in sensory, but it is definitely important in EMG. I'm going to illustrate the volume controls by using surface EMG activity. The volume level is indicated in the toolbar. Right now it is roughly at the half level. We can increase it by pushing the volume up key, push and hold it, or we can reduce it by pushing and holding the volume down key. Let us see this effect. I will make some surface EMG noise, increasing the volume, decreasing the volume, increasing the volume again. Sometimes it is more convenient to just mute it. Note the LED lit when the volume is muted. We can unmute it by pushing the key again. The functions associated with the color-coded keys can be seen at the bottom of the computer screen. These functions will be different among different tests. But if you use the default settings, some of the keys will appear to have the same function. As example, the top blue key is used for print screen in all default test settings. Similarly, we can use the new nerve to select a different nerve for testing. For the time being, I'm going to click on cancel. If you are going to use the test menu, we can push the exit test command. Right now, we are using the study protocol. To go to the next procedure in my study list, I'm going to use the key with the right arrow. The data from my median nerve was saved automatically, and the next procedure in my study list is load it. This can save time. So in summary, the control panel is simple and intuitive. It is organized in a logical manner, and this should make your electrodiagnostic testing faster and more efficient.